All right, bet. So we're live right now. What's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, out here traveling the world. Today is November 1st, 2023, reporting live from Budapest, Hungary. Thanks for everybody who's tuning into the live stream now or watching this later. We're going to be consistent and persistent this month in November. So let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about the Black Hebrew Israelites, or the Israelites as they call themselves. They view themselves as Israelites, the true Jews, the real Jews, and that sort of stuff. And on my channel a few months ago, I had a guy who was consistently posting on my channel a lot. His name was Hebrew Hayashimi or Hakashimi, something like that. And he was in my comments a lot talking about, Simon, you're an Israelite, you're not black, you need to come back to the tribe, brother, and all that stuff. And yeah, shout out to him wherever he is, or if he changed his name, or if he just tuned out from this channel. I'm always going to be me. I'm always going to be myself. I'm not going to change my opinions to please the audience. But shout out to Hebrew Hayashimi, whoever he is. So first and foremost, you know me, guys. I love all black people. All black people I consider a part of the family. And when I view the Hebrew Israelites, or the Israelites, I view them as another extension of the Black consciousness family, or the group of black men or black women, black people in general, who are committed towards fighting white supremacy to some extent. Now, there are various groups that I put under this branch: the Moors, the Nation of Islam, regular old black Muslims like Sunni Muslims, Shia Muslims, some black Christians, traditional Orthodox black Jews. I view all of them in general as like a part of the black consciousness family, a part of the people who are, awake or trying to seek a better world or existence for black people. Growing up in Monroe, Louisiana, I didn't see any Hebrew Israelites. I'm from a small town in the middle of nowhere in flyover country America. So I didn't grow up seeing the guys on the street corners dressed in shields, holding the axes, and, dressed like their characters in a Game of Thrones show from some lost kingdom. I didn't see them growing up. I didn't encounter Hebrew Israelites until I moved to Miami in my early 20s. And in my early 20s, while in Miami, in an area called North Miami Gardens, right? Or something like that. No, actually North Miami Beach. My first apartment in Miami was in North Miami Beach, and there were a bunch of guys dressed just like this on the corner with the Bible in their hand, with a bullhorn, shouting at people about, you're not black, you're Jewish, or you're Jews, or you're Israelites. They were reading scriptures from the Bible on the bullhorn and that sort of stuff. The Hebrew Israelites are more prominent in like the major cities like Miami, like Philadelphia, like New York, like Chicago, which we're going to talk about today. And they're a very strong movement of black men who I consider just to have a different ideology and view on reclaiming black manhood, black identity, that sort of stuff. I'm not here to denounce or bash the Hebrew Israelites at all. You know what I mean? Because if we think about it, me as a Muslim, them as Jews, or what they believe religiously, or what about their ethnicity or genealogy, everybody can pick and choose what's right and what's wrong. Like, it's all about faith, like what you truly believe. So if they truly believe that, they're the original Jews and their faith makes them be better people, who am I to judge them? Honestly, that's not how I'm not going to bash them like that. The only time you hear me bash religion on this channel is when it forces black people to act in coon behavior. So if you're a black Christian and you think that slavery was a good thing and slavery ended up helping black people, you're a coon. If you think, without slavery, we would have never had the light of Christianity shine on us. Number one, that's false, because Christianity was in Africa way before slavery happened or colonialism happened. But that makes you a coon and that sort of stuff. Anytime people use their religion to justify our dehumanization or subjugation, or to make them see the world colorblind, or that white supremacy doesn't exist, that makes you a coon. The Hebrew Israelites, in my opinion, are not coons. They're not in coon behavior yet. But a lot of the arguments that the Hebrew Israelites make come from the Bible, right? Because they believe they are the original Jews, so they uphold the Old Testament of the Bible, which is the Torah for like Orthodox Jews or whatever. And I'm going to be using a lot of air quotes today because I don't want to get, whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? By people who we traditionally consider to be Jews, they have the Old Testament as the Torah, and that's their religious text, and aside from others as well. So a lot of the Hebrew Israelites arguments come down to the Bible. They believe they're the original Jews, and they believe every time God is speaking to Israel or any of the Jews in the Old Testament, that he is speaking to black people. And a lot of it comes down to this part of the Bible, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. And so this Bible verse loosely relates to, our capture, our enslavement, taken from West Africa and forced to come to the New World to work on colonies and plantations all across the hemisphere, right? So there's so many things to just break this down with. The Lord will send you in ships to Egypt on a journey. So is Egypt supposed to be America or Brazil or the Dominican Republic? I mean, what are we saying here? On a journey I said you should never make again, so that we will never be enslaved again. Because even after we were taken and then slavery stopped from West Africa, slavery of black people continued in many parts of the world and still persists today, Mauritania, right? There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies. Okay, loosely, I guess you could say the Africans sold themselves, sold other black people into slavery, right? But then again, this verse could also be interpreted as saying, you as black people, you will make yourselves for sale, as if we got on the boats and made ourselves available to be exploited and taken advantage of as male and female slaves. Okay, of course, we know that happened, but no one will buy you. Well, we know for a fact that they did buy us. And this is the New International Version. If we go to the King James Version, where's the King James Version of this? I think the Hebrew Israelites prefer the King James Version because they view it as more correct. And I think also the Hebrew Israelites believe that King James was actually a black man. I don't know. Anyway, let's look at the King James Version of this Bible verse. And yeah, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Okay, once again, the quote is generally saying the same thing, though I guess it is open for more interpretation with this old English wording and phrasing that they're using. But once again, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it because, first and foremost, I don't believe in prophecies. I don't believe that anybody can see the future, or that God is going to tell us what will happen in the future. This might seem, blasphemous as a Muslim to say that I don't believe that, because there are parts of Islamic theology that say that God has sent predictions to us and prophecies will come true. But generally, that's not what I believe. That's not a part of my belief system. And I find it very hard to believe people thousands of years ago were able to foresee the transatlantic slave trade. This was a tragedy that was unavoidable. First and foremost, it did not need to happen. And secondly, I doubt people back then could even imagine the horror and tragedy that was about to befall black people, and is still befalling us today. Now, a big part of the Hebrew Israelites theology is that God punished us with slavery because we broke God's laws and covenants. Now, if you believe that, in my opinion, you're admitting that we deserved kind of what we got. And if you're saying that because we, I don't know, started eating pork or worshiping golden calves or wearing the wrong type of clothes with the wrong type of thread, you're saying to me, Hebrew Israelites, if I'm understanding your theology well, that God is a white supremacist and that everything the white supremacists do to us is justified to some extent. Because what you're saying is that God saw that there was some wrong done by black people, and so we deserved to be slaves, our children deserve to be slaves, our men deserve to be castrated, our women deserve to be R-worded, and all sorts of stuff. I find this very problematic, essentially problematic. But once again, I'm not here to bash Hebrew Israelites. As long as you're fighting white supremacy, as long as you're talking for Black issues, as long as you're advocating for Black people, I really don't care what you believe, honestly. It doesn't bother me that much. I would never consider myself a Hebrew Israelite, though, because I just don't believe in prophecies. I Maybe there is an argument or some truth to that we are the original Semitic people, or that the original Jews were Black, because the original people on the planet for most of human history were Black. That's absolutely true. We all came out of Africa, and then we slowly evolved in different locations with different pigmentation, right? But either way, the idea that God punished us because we broke his laws, and that punishment still is happening today. And we need to follow God's laws again to get right with God, to make our that's foolishness, and that's tomfoolery, in my opinion. That's putting it back pie in the sky as far as our liberation and the fight for our freedom is concerned. And that's why I don't buy into the Hebrew Israelite stuff. Now, the reason we're talking about the Hebrew Israelites today, and I'm not going to play this video, but this video is so easy to find on Twitter, YouTube, and everything. The Hebrew Israelites are all over the country, like I said, at least in the US, and maybe they're abroad in Europe now, and maybe even in Africa. I don't know. I don't know where they are. But yeah, they were out there in Chicago fighting the pro-Palestinian protesters. If you've been living under a rock, the whole world is picking sides between Israel and Palestine and that sort of stuff over the past month, since the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israeli kibbutz in the south, whatever, right? So people all over the world are protesting, marching, fighting, and holding signs for the side that they rock with. You know how I feel about this. Black people, we have no dog in this fight. We shouldn't be riding with Israel or riding for Palestine, because both the Arabs and the Israeli Jews have proven themselves to be anti-Black. Constantly. And if you don't believe me, go watch the video I made, not only about the Palestinian and Israeli conflict I did about 2 weeks ago, but also look at the video I did about blackface that was about a month ago now, about blackface in the Arab world and all over the world, right? The whole world doesn't respect us as people. Therefore, we should be only siding with us. We shouldn't be riding with the Palestinians or the Israelis or anything like that. So Ozzy jumped into the comments and said, Black people stay out of this. Absolutely, I 1000% agree. We have no dog in this fight, honestly, until one side starts treating their Black people better, because there's Black people indigenous to both sides of the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. Until both sides start treating their Black people better, we don't have a dog in this fight, honestly. Let's stay out of it. But I'm just going to read some of the comments here on the Reddit for Tel Aviv, and I assume that these are Jewish people leaving comments under this video, because I thought some of the comments were absolutely hilarious. One guy said, Black Hebrew Israelites are also our foes, right? I live in Chicago. This is nuts. And he said, they definitely hate us. I'm okay with these two groups fighting it out. That's funny. Exceptionally rare Black Hebrew Israelite W. Protest jihadis. We're going to exterminate the Jews. Black Hebrew Israelites. Well, since we're the real Jews, that's funny too. That's funny. So another guy said, holy F, this is getting surreal. And then he said, edit, I'll allow this. This is just all around comedy. Like, the Jews are sitting back, like, laughing at the people that they despise too, like the Palestinian protesters and the Black Hebrew Israelites, because the Black Hebrew Israelites don't get along with, like, what we consider traditional Jews. They view them as the synagogue of Satan and, imposters, pretendians, whatever, right? So yeah, it's pretty funny to see that the people in the R Tel Aviv Reddit are just laughing at the Black Hebrew Israelites going back. Never thought I'd die fighting next to the Black Hebrew Israelites. Well, this answers a question I've been asking myself since this started. I assumed they were just sitting back and eating popcorn. I also assumed they take the side of the Palestinians since they hate the Jews. Yeah, other people in the Reddit. So another source said they wanted to join the protest, but were attacked when they claimed to be Israelites. Who even knows these days? That's the most interesting part, because, most Black people, if they're like unaware, or if they still have this idea that the world will be kumbaya towards us, if we are kumbaya towards them, most Black people generally would side with the Palestinians, because we understand what it's like to have our land taken, be treated as second-class citizens, face the army that's against a unarmed populace. Most Black people would generally take the side of Palestinians, right? But and I assume the Hebrew Israelites understand what it's like to be subjugated and that sort of stuff, and they have sympathies that way. But yeah, they still claim to be Israelites, and a lot of Black Hebrew Israelites make Aliyah and move to Israel too. So yeah, it's crazy to think that maybe they wanted to join the Palestinians, or maybe the Palestinian protesters were being racist towards the Black Hebrew Israelites, and that caused the conflict. I don't know why the fight started. Overall, it's dumb because Black men shouldn't even be out there protesting. We should be eating popcorn, watching the off-whites have their fight generally. But before we get into like parts that I really find interesting about this story and everything like this, I want to read some poetry, and this might turn some people off. But I'm a big hip hop fan, love hip hop. I also do writing for hip hop on a website called Culturalist Theory. And I just want to read some poetry from a rapper named Killer Priest. And this is from one of my favorite songs. One of my favorite hip hop songs is called One Step by Killer Priest. And basically, it's like a Hebrew Israelite, like, anthem, I guess. Like, I don't even think the Hebrew Israelites would even recognize this song. But I heard this song like when I was 17, and I've always played it off and on since then. And it's really dope. So I want to read the lyrics because I think this song breaks down the ideas of the Hebrew Israelites very well, and it's very poetic. So, early natives related to the thrones of David, captured by some patriots and thrown on slave ships. They stripped us naked while their wives picked the favorite. Lives were wasted in the hands of the hated, driven from the garden. Now we're starving in the modern day Sodom. They call it Harlem. Worldly problems got us at the bottom. The earth crisis had the righteous grabbing ice picks, seeking psychics for advices. I stay in ciphers. Our life is connected to the second son of Isaac's, which had a tight grip on the heels of his brother, revealed to his mother. The elders should serve the younger. Words heard in thunder, down from under, rose and fled to grow in hunger. Now it's cold in summer. To slow your slumbers, behold the number 600, 6 and 3 score, the same as Esau, who ate his meat raw. In the time before, they climbed aboard a dinosaur. Information held behind the doors. We came from the atmosphere. The physical trapped us here. Then they gave us crack and beer. In the back of the stairs, please adapt your ears, add or subtract the years, inform the unwise, and watch the sun rise from sunset. None slept, one flesh, one breath. Very poetic. I really like that verse. And if you've never heard that song, you got to listen to this song by Killer Priest called One Step. So let's break down the lyrics. Early natives related to the thrones of David. The Black Hebrew Israelites believe, that they are descended from the true Jewish people who existed thousands of years ago in what is modern day Israel, Palestine, whatever you want to call it. And David is a very important prophet to the Orthodox or traditional Jews, captured by some patriots and thrown on slave ships. That relates to Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. We were captured, thrown on ships, and forced to come to the New World. They stripped us naked while their wives picked their favorite. A lot of people don't remember or don't know history enough to know that during our enslavement, white women, were very involved in the process of picking the slaves that would work for them. A lot of the Black men that came to America were castrated because they were specifically selected to be the assistants of white women who were slave owners as well. Uh, yo, is my live still on? Y'all still hear me? If y'all still hear me, leave a like. Yo, so yeah, let's go ahead and continue. So we got somebody else in the chat who jumped in. Hold on, wait though. I gotta check and see if my live stream's still going. All right. All right. Yeah, Ozzy's still here. He says he hears me. Can y'all see me though? If you can see me, say you can see me, because I don't know, because my live stream on my phone stopped. But I'm gonna read this comment from Polymath. They were out there protesting. The Israelites in Chicago go out there every weekend. It had nothing to do with Palestinians. Okay, interesting. All right, so Polymath is giving some background. I don't know if you're from Chicago, but yeah, the Black Hebrew Israelites are always out there on every corner. Always in the major cities with the bullhorns, with the Bible, trying to reach people and proselytize and that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to get my live stream back on my phone. Y'all bear with me for a second. By the way, I'm going to start doing a call-in show, and I'm going to do the call-in show preferably on Zoom. I'm just trying to still set up how can I say this? The audio to make sure that people can be heard when they come in, because I want to talk to the people like directly, not just in the chat. So that way the live will be better. Okay, now I can see myself back on my phone, and let's get to it. All right. Yeah, anyway, let's continue building. So these are the lyrics from the Killer Priest song One Step. And yeah, lives were wasted in the hands of the hated. Millions of black bodies were lost to slavery and to our oppression in not only the Americas, but from Brazil to Chile to Panama to Dominican Republic. So yeah, he's breaking down what happened to us when we were taken from Egypt. Deuteronomy 28 verse 68, right? They now we're starving in the modern day Sodom. They call it Harlem. So a lot of people who are like Hebrew Israelites, they believe in like millennialism, or that we are living in the end days and that sort of stuff. And a lot of people refer to modern societies, Western civilization, as Babylon, Sodom, Gomorrah, that sort of stuff. And so Killer Priest is from New York, and so when he's saying we're living in the modern day Sodom, they call it Harlem. He's referring to the places in New York where they have black poverty, generational poverty, and that sort of stuff. And that's what makes a lot of people end up turning to these religious groups like the Hebrew Israelites, like the Moorish side. Bottom, the earth crisis had the righteous grabbing ice picks. So yeah, we're living in a world that has so many problems, and the world is continually on fire. You know, every day you turn on the news, you see natural disasters, drama in the Middle East, poverty at home, and that sort of stuff. Had the righteous grabbing ice picks. I believe this lyric is very interpretive. An ice pick can be used to chip away at like something that's frozen in time and maybe lost, like some mammoth or something in like a big glacier. But an ice pick can also be a weapon. So the righteous are grabbing ice picks maybe to chip away at civilization, or they're chipping away, or they're using it as a weapon to fight back, right? See, seeking ciphers. They have the lyrics wrong here. Seeking psychics for advices. It's not seeking like us for our rices. This is a white man that wrote this. So seeking psychics for advices. So a lot of people, you know, when you don't have education, they turn to other ways to be educated because the mind can't be held back, and everybody wonders. And so seeking psychics for advices is what it really says in this line. A lot of people, you know, turn to other ways and unconventional underground methods of getting their education. You know what I mean? We stay in ciphers. So a cipher, for those who don't know, I used to be a 5%er, and the 5%ers are like a whole different thing. But basically, a cipher is when a bunch of people stand in a circle and try to drop knowledge. Basically, kick game, drop knowledge, information that they don't know, and that's how we're supposed to build each other up intellectually, by, you know, staying in a cipher and building. Our lives is connected to the second son of Isaac's, which had a tight grip on the heels of his brother, revealed to his mother. The elders who should serve the younger. Words heard in thunder. So I'm not familiar. I'm not a biblical scholar, guys. I'm not a biblical scholar, but Isaac or Ishar or whatever is definitely one of the major prophets in the Bible. If you're a biblical scholar, leave your comments in the chat and let's talk about that, because we're just breaking down the lyrics for one of the songs that I think best explains, you know, the Hebrew Israelite mindset and their worldview and how they view themselves in history. So yeah, our lives are connected like Isaac's. Once again, one of the ancient Hebrew prophets, the Hebrew Israelites cling to as our lineage, our proof, and that sort of stuff. All right, down. Behold the number 600, 6 and 3 score, the same as Esau, who ate his meat raw in the time before they climbed aboard a dinosaur. I always found this line fascinating. In the time before they climbed aboard a dinosaur. This is crazy that we're breaking this down, but they climbed aboard a dinosaur. A dinosaur could metaphorically be some ancient animal or some beast that existed in the past, because in the Bible, they speak about ancient animals, giants, Nephilim, and that sort of stuff that existed in the past. So maybe in the past, the Hebrew Israelites or the ancient Jews were interacting with creatures that don't exist today, but we do have relation to them because we're descendant from the ancient Hebrew Israelites. So they say, I don't know. I'm just building on it right here. So we came from the atmosphere, the physical tracked us here. Then they gave us crack and beer. Very dope line. I love that line right there. We came from the atmosphere, meaning that we come from another plane. We exist in a world that we are trapped in our physical bodies. We come from a higher plane of understanding, and then we're transported here on this earth. A lot of people believe that life is only a test. That's in fact what the Christians and Muslims believe. God put us here in these physical bodies as tests to make sure that we can go to heaven or that we're damned to hell and that sort of stuff. So they gave us crack and beer. He's saying that the white supremacists trapped us in these not only in physical forms, right? well, God in their case, God, because I do believe the Hebrew Israelites view God as a racist who hates black people, but whatever. Then they gave us crack and beer, meaning that the racists who trap us in the ghettos gave us things to kill ourselves, crack and beer. In the back of the stairs, please adapt your ears. So in the back of the stairs can mean like in the project hallways or like in some, in some dark part of the world where you're not given education or the opportunity to grow and learn. Please adapt your ears means please listen. Please listen to this message that you're not getting. Add or subtract the years, inform the unwise, and watch the sunrise. Dope line. I love that line. Inform the unwise, meaning teach others, each one teach one, and watch the sunrise, meaning just pay attention to the natural world around you and information will flow. None slept, one flesh, one breath. Very dope line. All right, let's get into the comments real quick. We got a lot going on in the comments. So Polymath says, no, I'm not in Chicago, but I'm subscribed to that Israelite group channel, and they dropped the full video of what happened, and they even did a podcast explaining what led up to it. Very, very cool. I need to check that out. I don't be tuned into the Hebrew Israelite stuff and like their channels and stuff, but they got a lot of content out there. I just generally skip over it because it's hard for me to believe in prophecies. But Polymath, I'd be very interested to know what you think of the Hebrew Israelites in general and their ideology. I'm here to talk with y'all and build with y'all and that sort of stuff. Polymath then said, Ozzy said, damn, he got bars. Yeah, Ozzy, you got to check out that song, One Step by Killer Priest. It's a very dope song. Polymath says, Jacob was holding on the heel of Esau when he was born, and it was prophesied to his mom that he was a symbol that Esau will be ruling at the end of the world, and Jacob would be the one to rule after. Very, very dope information. Thank you, Polymath, for dropping so much knowledge in here. So Jacob was holding onto the heel of Esau when he was born. So he was pulling it, he was helping his mother, give birth to his brother. And it was prophesied to his mom that that was a symbol that Esau will be ruling at the end of the world, and Jacob would be the one to rule after. So Esau, I think, to the Hebrew Israelites, is the father of all white people, if I remember right. So we're living in the age under Esau, according to the Hebrew Israelites, if I'm breaking down what Polymath is saying. So the Esau's ruling now, and then Jacob, I guess the sons of Jacob are us, black people, and we're going to inherit the world that originally was us, I guess, because we're the older brother of Esau, meaning that we're older than the white people that came on the planet, which is historically true. Black people are the oldest people on the planet, and Esau is the one who came after us, who then took our throne, right? And now we're going to take it back by being good Jews, I guess. That's a very dope story. The thing is, the Bible is full of dope stories like that. You get what I'm saying? But it's full of interpretation. And it's impossible for an entire race of people to be descended from one person, even one tribe. So you get what I'm saying? So that's what's hard for me to buy into the Hebrew Israelite stuff, because they say we are the sons of Jacob. Even if Jacob is not one person, even if Jacob is an entire tribe or a nation, it's impossible to say that all black people are descended from Jacob, the nation, the tribe, the person, whatever you want to say. All right. Ozzy said, I'm starting to believe this life we live is a test as well. I do agree to some extent. I do agree. I mean, as a Muslim, I do believe in heaven and hell. And even though I don't follow everything fully, I still believe that there is some justice in this world. My belief in heaven and hell is about validating justice. But I want to read the rest of the lyrics here from this Killer Priest song, because it breaks down the Hebrew Israelite, ideas very well. Devils marvel that these lyrics are so bad, because I know the song for real. Devils marvel. They caught us playing with the gold marbles. We wrote novels. Now we live life in the bottle. Before the devil sold me to the unholy, he called my father Toby. I lived life amongst the lowly, the lowly, the lowly. The president just ordered the Navy to hit the borders of Haiti, slaughter babies from the waters of Euphrates. Maybe they sent germs that polluted our sperms and made us live uncircumcised in the serpent eyes and told us certain lies. And each day a servant dies. But in the halls of Pharaoh, the walls are narrow, and religion is like a prison for the seekers of wisdom. Now, freedom. Let's feed them, feed them. They took the first book of Jacob to Jamaica, promised us 40 acres and a mule, treated like an animal, understand the jewel. brought to the 50 states. Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. It all relates. 1555 is when we first arrived. We tell jokes with some get high and watch the fish fry. Ah, those are bars. That's a verse. That's how you rap, bro. That's how you rap for real. This is one of the best rap songs of all time. I'm telling y'all, Killer Priest, One Step is one of the hands down best rap songs of all time. It's the first song on his album Heavy Mental. Very dope album. I suggest you check it out. It's really his only good album, so check that song out. But let's break down this verse real right here. So, Devil's Marvel. They caught us playing with the gold marbles. So, a lot of people who are in like the conscious community, especially like Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, they believe that white people, and in fact, it's absolutely true. And I'm not going to say they believe because this is truth. Ancient Europeans, like the Greeks, the Romans, they came to Africa to learn. They came to study not only in Egypt, but in places like Timbuktu and different centers of learning, like in Morocco as well. Some of the oldest universities were in Africa, and that's where a lot of Europeans got the game. So they saw us with, great technology, great advances of learning, great libraries, and so they caught us playing with the gold marbles. The marbles represent the knowledge that we had, the wealth that we had in the past as Black Africans. I'm going to get into the comments right quick. Polymath says, we Israelites don't believe all Black people descend from Jacob. I think this might be the reason you don't understand our point of view. Listen, okay, thank you, Polymath, for explaining that, and I'm glad that I actually have a real Israelite here to defend yourself and defend your views. I am not attacking Hebrew Israelites at all in this. I just find it very hard, to buy into biblical prophecy, the Bible as an inerrant source or a historically accurate source. So you're more than welcome to be on this channel, Polymath, and to share what you know about your point of view. I'm not trying to denigrate anybody's point of view or religious background. As long as you're dedicated to fighting white supremacy, you have no problems with me. And I would love for you to share more. So if all Black people don't descend from Jacob, are only some Black people Jews? And then again, how do we know which ones are Jews? Because in my opinion, it's hard to differentiate between us. There's, unless you're like an East African, like Ethiopian, Eritrean, Somalian, it's very hard to differentiate amongst Black people. The Nigerian Bantu people look much the same as the South African Bantu people and Kenyan Black people, and the Black people that are in the north of Africa as well. You get what I'm saying? So I would like to know how you differentiate between Black people. Is it just anybody who says I'm an Israelite and now they're descended from the sons of Jacob? So just please explain that. So Ozzy said maybe Genius has the correct lyrics. Maybe they do, but I know this song, so I'm just going to keep on breaking it down. So yeah, Polymath says ancient Egyptians were and are Black, but they are not the same as us. Very interesting. Very interesting for you to share that, Polymath. So, in the Bible, though, Polymath, it says that you will be taken to Egypt. When they refer to Egypt in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, that sort of stuff, right? Are they talking about America or the New World or that sort of stuff? Or anytime God talks about Egypt, is that not the Israelis? Because I thought in the Bible, the people of Egypt, when God was speaking to them when they were captured by the Egyptians, he was talking to them as Egypt. Is the same thing. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I am not a biblical scholar. So Polymath says, I know you are not attacking, brother. I was just correcting. Absolutely. So we wrote novels. Now we live life in the bottle. So that's a very dope line as well. We wrote novels, meaning that before our enslavement, our capture, we were scholars, educators. So we were writing books. Now we live life in the bottle. Living in the bottle means, consuming alcohol or drugs and that sort of stuff. Before the devil sold me to the unholy, he called my father Toby. Very dope line. They have the wrong lyrics here. I'm giving you the right lyrics. Before the devil sold me to the unholy, meaning before we were captured and sent in chains, he took away my father's name. So if you've ever seen Roots, Kunta Kinte, once he became enslaved, they called him Toby, and they whipped him until they called him Toby. So I live life amongst the lowly, the lowly, the lowly. And there's this repetition of the phrase lowly, the lowly, the lowly. And it's such a deep line. I lived life amongst the lowly, meaning I'm living life now amongst the poor, the dispossessed, the salt of the earth. But then repeating that line over and over again sort of different shows that how can I say this? It shows that the lowly continued and passed down, because in this stanza here, in this part of the verse, he's talking about his ancestors. But then lowly, lowly, lowly into the future, as he repeats it, shows that the lowly status is passed down again and again from generation to generation, which is a very dope line. The president just ordered the Navy to hit the borders of Haiti and slaughtered babies from the waters of Euphrates. Very dope line right here from Killer Priest. The president ordered the Navy to hit the borders of Haiti, meaning that the white supremacist government, the military powers of the U.S., are attacking a black nation, and understandably, for no reason, because Haiti is no military threat to the U.S., and slaughtered babies from the waters of Euphrates, meaning that the babies, the black people of Haiti, according to Killer Priest, are descended from the people who are the true Semites. The true Semites are black people who are, descended from that region where the rivers Euphrates is. If you don't know where the rivers Euphrates is, it's in Iraq and Turkey, and is a big river in the Middle East, and that's where a lot of these Semitic people consider their home. So maybe they sent germs that polluted our sperm and made us live uncircumcised in the serpent's eyes. So maybe they sent germs that polluted our sperm and made us live uncircumcised in the serpent's eyes. So circumcision is very important to Jews. Like, Jewish people need to be circumcised, just like the Muslims and some Christians do as well. So they sent germs that polluted our sperm, meaning that he's considering this thought in our mind that we are a polluted people, a toxic people now, after everything we've been through. And now the serpent, the people that really did do the harm to us, bit us, infected us with this poison, look at us as unclean, because being uncircumcised is what's considered unclean in Judaism and in Islam as well. Very dope line. Very dope line. And told us certain lies, and each day a servant dies, but in the halls of Pharaoh, the walls are narrow. God damn, those are bars. Tell us certain lies, and each day a servant dies. They told us certain lies. They tell us lies to make us believe that we are inferior, that we are less than, that we are not good people, that we're not intelligent, our IQs are low. Each day a servant dies. What is a servant? A servant is somebody who, serves people and that sort of thing. A servant, I'm interpreting this line as meaning somebody who serves God, people who are trying to do right, or people that are just generally living their lives and basically are just working hard, like the working class people. The servants is a lowly position. So they told us certain lies. Each day a servant dies, meaning that we're basically workers who just pass on. But in the halls of Pharaoh, the walls are narrow. I don't know, man. Pharaoh's halls, a pharaoh would have a big palace and that sort of stuff, but the walls are narrow, meaning that there's not a lot of room for interpretation or growth or wisdom from outside. I don't know. Let's get into the comments right here. So Polymath says Deuteronomy 28, verse 68 isn't talking about the land of Egypt, but rather a land that spiritually embodies the concepts of Egypt. Revelations 11, 8. He's not talking about the actual Egypt being he promises in the previous. I don't know what the last part means. So, but Egypt is a metaphor in Deuteronomy 28. The Lord will send you back in ships on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. Scripture, and Polymath says, Scripture not to take us back to the actual land of Egypt as slaves. So is this, I just want to ask you this, Polymath, is this verse predicting our enslavement or not? Because it seems like, it's going both ways. I'm just trying to understand this better. Are you saying that Deuteronomy 28:68 isn't talking about the land of Egypt, but rather a land that spiritually embodies the concepts of Egypt? Okay. Should I pull up Revelations 11:8? Should I do that? All right, let's pull that up. Revelations. This is the first time I'm actually searching for something on a live stream. I'm actually going to do the research. Revelations, and this is chapter 11, verse 8. Revelations chapter 11, verse 8. First time I'm doing this on live for the Hebrew Israelites because I respect them. So this is Revelations 11:8, New International Version. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. I don't know how to interpret that. Their bodies will lie in the public square. What I thought Revelations is a book all about prophecy, about what will happen in the end times. So I'm very confused by this verse. The more I dig into the Bible, the more confusing it actually gets. But I'm going to jump back into this Killer Priest lyrics, and then we're going to read some more about the Bible right here. So, and religion is like a prison for the seekers of wisdom. Now, freedom, let's feed them. Feed them. So, this is the repetition. This is why this is one of the greatest rap songs of all time. Because look, notice how he says lowly 3 times. I live life amongst the lowly, lowly, lowly. 3 generations of lonely people. But now the religion is like a prison for the seekers of wisdom. So religion, just following dogmatism, just following a book to its T, can lead you into just narrow-mindedness, to not thinking bigger, which relates to the line previously about the halls of Pharaoh and the walls being narrow, meaning Pharaoh has all of this wealth, but his eyes or his ability to see more are very narrow. He doesn't have a lot of range to grow. So now freedom, let's feed them. So now that we have freedom, we can feed our people information and knowledge. And he says this twice, playing on the word freedom. We have freedom, so let's feed them, meaning that now the new generation, 2 generations removed from the 3 generations of lowly people, now have the information to feed the next generation. They took the first book of Jacob to Jamaica. So this is when he just starts building and starts preaching. So this is a part of the feeding the information. They took the first book of Jacob to Jamaica, promised us 40 acres and a mule. So I guess the first people who are descended from Jacob were taken to Jamaica. And Jamaica was one of the earliest slave colonies in the New World and that sort of stuff. So he's saying that the first Hebrews that were taken from Africa were taken to Jamaica. They promised us 40 acres and a mule, meaning that this is very interpreted. Um, promises 40 acres and a mule, meaning that they tricked the Africans into getting on the boat, thinking that they would have wealth and prosperity. Or he can mean that after their enslavement ended, that they would then have wealth, because they promised us 40 acres and the mule in the US, saying that we would get that after slavery, right, as reparations. Treated like an animal, understand the jewel, brought to the 50 states, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, it all relates. So once again, tying in, the biblical verse, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, and how that, relates to our enslavement. It was written in the Bible, and so it shall be done. And yeah, we were brought to the 50 states. We built the 50 states, and here we are now. 1555 is when we first arrived. We tell jokes with some get high and watch the fish fry. It's such a dope line. I love that line right there, because we tell jokes, we laugh, and we build, and then we just chill with our families. It's like he drops this heavy knowledge, but then still brings it down to earth to talk about how, um, we're still normal people at the end of the day. I just love this song so much. Everybody go check out Killer Priest, One Step. Even though I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, I still find a lot of beauty in different forms of art in different perspectives. So I'm going to jump into Polymath's comment because he is very interesting. Polymath says, I can explain it more concisely if I was talking instead of texting, but I'm at work. We can always set up a talk to answer questions you have. Absolutely, Polymath. I would love to chop it up and build with you. I'm going to start doing a call-in show. I swear to God, I'm going to have people call in. We're going to chop it up live. I can't wait to get that done. I just got to do the technical stuff with OBS to get it right. But thank you, Polymath, for dropping in and dropping jewels and knowledge and that sort of stuff. But I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Once again, the Hebrew Israelites should have not been, fighting with the people out there. The Palestinians should not have attacked them. Either way, the entire fight to me is a bit silly. It's a bit dumb to be having, because Black people shouldn't be crashing out for any group of people, especially when that group is anti-Black. But let's continue building more about the history of the Hebrew Israelites, because I think if we're going to talk about them, we should know where they come from, what they believe, and that sort of stuff. Polymath is doing a great job speaking, from his perspective. I just want to learn some more history right here. So from New York City to the Negev Desert, who are the Black Hebrew Israelites? So this was written by a Orthodox Jewish person, Chaim Locks. So keep that in mind. This was published on December 1st, 2022. In October 2022, famed American rapper Kanye West, also known as Ye, stirred up controversy when he tweeted that he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and that he could not be considered anti-Semitic since Black people are actually Jewish. Also, I would love to know what Polymath thinks about the Kanye West situation. Do y'all consider Kanye a true Hebrew Israelite? I don't know. Like, tell me what y'all think about Kanye and Kyrie. Tell me what you think about those two. Anyway, then a month later, star basketball player Kyrie Irving came under fire for tweeting a link to a controversial film, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. I tried to watch that movie. It's about 3 hours long. Man, I just can't get into it because, once again, I just can't get into the Bible. It's hard for me to buy the Bible, and a lot of it is based on the Bible. The thing is, the Hebrew Israelites get it right when they talk about we were the original Jews. That's something I honestly believe. I'm going to keep it real with you right now, guys. Y'all say whatever you want about me. Black people were the original Jews. We were the original Hebrews. We were the original Canaanites. We were all of those people, right? Because we were the first people on the planet. That's something I still honestly believe. But does that mean we are the true Jews? That means a certain segment of Black people were the original true Jews, and something changed over time. Okay, that's where I get off of the boat for it. You get what I'm saying? And I don't believe in prophecy, and I don't believe that God would punish us as Black people for something our ancestors did. I shouldn't be punished for what my father did and for what my grandfather did. And I'm not saying that like some white supremacist talking point, like how they say they don't have to pay reparations because they never owned the slave. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about biblical punishment. Black people don't deserve what happened to us under no circumstances. Under no circumstances did we deserve Jim Crow. Did we deserve slavery? Did we deserve castration? Did we deserve having our grandmothers and our mothers, R worded right in front of us and that sort of stuff? We didn't deserve any of that. And if God let that happen, then God is a white supremacist and God's going to get this smoke because I don't care. I don't care if God is a racist, if God is anti-black, if God felt like it was right to punish Black people the way that happened to us. Absolutely not cool. And I would tell God to, eat this. You get what I'm saying? Like, suck it. You feel me? That's what I'm rocking. So C Doggo said, "Who invented slavery?" Oh God, C Doggo's back in the chat. But anyway, let's come into the comments real quick. Polymath, Kanye and Kyrie. Kanye and Kyrie are Israelites by blood, but by philosophy, no. I'm very interested to hear what you mean by philosophy, because I know there are several different branches of the Hebrew Israelites, and some of y'all have different like viewpoints and ideologies about what it means to be a Hebrew Israelite. But I'm more interested to know how y'all differentiate. And I know you said you could talk about that more than text it and that sort of stuff. But C Doggo said, "Who invented slavery?" Slavery was invented by people who captured other people. That's what the answer is. Anyway, this film and the book series that is based on, by the way, they're talking about Hebrews to Negroes, were revealed to contain a number of anti-Semitic tropes, including the claim that Jews have a plan for world domination, that Jews stole the identity of African Americans, and that Jews control the media. So once again, it's not anti-Semitic to just talk about, who are the predominant people in a certain industry. I don't find that to be anti-Semitic inherently. And I hope people don't call me an anti-Semite because I love the Arabs and I have no problems with Jews. But yeah, generally it's stupid how they write about Kanye and Kyrie. Well, Kanye to a bit. Kanye was going a bit extreme, but Kyrie didn't do anything, in my opinion, that deserved the sort of attention and hate he got and that sort of stuff. So in response to the uproar, Kyrie Irving reportedly said, "I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from." In both instances, West and Irving were seemingly referencing the ideology of the Black Hebrew Israelites, or BHI, a small U.S.-based religious movement that serves as an umbrella for a multitude of organizations who share the same core tenets, but whose particular beliefs and practices range from the moderate to the extreme. In this piece, we will take a look at the basic beliefs of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, examine its historical evolution over the past 150 years, and analyze the role that it currently plays in mainstream American culture. So once again, the Hebrew Israelites, they're one of us, man. They're just like Nation of Islam. Everybody in their family got a cousin who's Muslim, a brother who's like Moorish, an uncle who was a 5%er back in the day. I mean, this is just a part of Black life, a part of Black life because of what happened to us. You know, we don't have our identity, we don't have our original religions, we don't have our original languages and cultures, and we created the greatest culture that exists on the planet right now, which is Black American culture. It's the culture that everybody wants to follow and that sort of stuff. But yet and still, a lot of Black people have an identity crisis because of what happened to us, and also the persistence of white supremacy around the world. So that's where I view a lot of this Black Hebrew Israelite stuff coming from. Like Black men, some Black men, and hell, me included to some extent, because I converted to a whole foreign religion, like Muslim, like Islam, right? You get what I'm saying? But like a lot of Black men, you know, we're still a lost people to some extent, and we're still sort of trying to figure out who we are to some extent. That's honestly how I feel. Now, I'm not, saying that's. I just hope that nuance is clear on what I'm saying here. You get what I'm saying? So Polymath says, we are not small, by the way. A lot of people of my tribes in Liberia has oral stories of us being Israelites. Even more interesting. That's such an interesting detail. Thank you for sharing that, Polymath. So, yeah, I don't know what to add on to that. I don't know much about Liberia outside of what I've read and what I've seen in documentaries. But yeah, I think if we go by people that identify as like the Hebrew Israelites in the Americas, like, or in the US, I think the numbers are about 1 to 2 million, Black people who identify with that. So that's very that's pretty large in my opinion. So who are the Hebrew Israelites? At its core, the Black Hebrew Israelites, also sometimes referred to as Black Jews, believe that Black Americans are the true descendants of the Israelites who were exiled from the Promised Land. According to some, Latin Americans and Native Americans are also descended from the 12 tribes of Israel. I'd be very interested to know what, as a Hebrew Israelite, whatever, do you consider the Latin Americans and the Native Americans as Hebrew Israelites? Let us know what you think. How do you consider them? Because I know, as a 5%er, when I was a 5%er back in the day, we viewed all non-white people as Black. So we would like go to extremes to make the Asians Black, and the even Eskimos Black, and like the Turkish people Black. It was crazy what some of the 5%ers were doing back in the day. But anyway, so according to the Black Hebrew Israelite view of history, members of the 12 tribes of Israel were initially expelled from the Holy Land to Africa, and then forcibly taken across the Atlantic as slaves to North America. It is important to note that this movement does not include African American members of traditional Jewish denominations, Ethiopian Jews, or African groups who claim Jewish ancestry, such as the Igbo people of Nigeria. Within the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, Jewish symbols, rituals, and holidays are used to varying degrees. The only holidays that are celebrated are those found in the Bible, such as Passover and Yom Kippur. Very interesting. Polymath, I would like to know what you think about, celebrating Jewish or Israeli holidays, if you do that and that sort of thing. Yeah. As mentioned earlier, there are a wide variety of sects within the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Some of these sects seek to foster ties with the mainstream Jewish community, while others espouse racial superiority, anti-Semitism, and hatred of white people. I'm going to be drawing a lot from my experiences as a white supremacist, not as a white supremacist. I'm going to be drawing from my experience, guys, as a white supremacist. No, as a 5%er. When I was a 5%er, we didn't believe in racial superiority to, I don't know exactly how to say it. We believed the Black man was God, right? The 5%ers believed the Black man was God, right? And the original man was the Black man, and that the blacks, of course, have the dominant gene and that sort of stuff. And I don't believe any of this now. I don't believe man is God and that sort of stuff. But we didn't believe that we were better than white people, but we did. I would say most 5%ers believe that most Yakubians, I should start using the word Yakubian on this channel. Most Yakubians do have more devil in them than is prevalent within most Black people, right? So I'd be interested to know what Polymath thinks about that, about racial superiority. Do the Black Hebrew Israelites believe that that Israelites are like how, because like traditional Orthodox Jews believe that they are the better people, right? And that like there's goy, meaning like all the people that are not Jews who are going to be like enslaved by the Jews at the end of the day, some say. You get what I'm saying? And basically, the Jews are the God's only chosen people and most beloved people. Do the Israelites, the Black Hebrew Israelites, believe that? And does that then extrapolate into Black people because they are the original Jews who are descended from the sons of Jacob being superior? I would love to know. Once again, I don't believe in racial superiority in any way. There's no superior group of people. We are only here to fight for justice and equality for all people and also against white supremacy. So, very interesting stuff. So, as the Anti Defamation League notes, extremist sects represent a vocal subsection of the larger Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Just as not all Black Hebrew Israelite adherents are extremists, not all extremist sects preach the same level of hatred. The most active extremist sects have hardened their messages after decades of operation. It should be noted that there are thought to be approximately 1.6 million members of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement in the United States, with another 7.8 million people who agree with the movement's core tenets. How do they do this? How do they do this? This math or these statistics. Anyway, let's get into the comments. Polymath says, "How do you not believe man are gods, but yet you believe man has devils in them? So how does the devil exist but not God?" What I meant by devil was like devilish nature. That's what I meant to say, meaning that the 5%ers don't believe in God as in like a mythical, physical, or metaphysical God. Well, the 5%ers believe that the black man is God in the sense that all civilization derives from black people, black men. Black men were the first to build the pyramids, write books, sail around the world, populate all parts of the planet, that sort of stuff, create the first religions. Therefore, the black man is God. You get what I'm saying? That's the 5%er logic of it. And they use the word God in that way, not meaning that we have supernatural powers. And the word devil is meant to mean devilment or devilishment, meaning mischievous, maleficent behavior. That's what I meant to say. That's how the 5%ers see it. Once again, I believe I know for a fact that black people dominated the planet. We were the first here and that sort of stuff. But after that, I don't really think any of that matters after that. You get what I'm saying? Like, we should be fighting for our human rights and to have dignity against white supremacy and to be treated as men and equal, not because we were the first people and we deserve some respect over others, but just off of sheer human decency. All right. So, C Doggo says, as I see now, same will happen in the USA as the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. C Doggo says, it's cool we have our own country, but we lost global power. All power to Hungary, man. I hope Hungary, continues to grow, flourish. I like this country so far, living in Hungary now. Generally, everything's cool. Very nice country, great food. Anyway, uh, of this number, the membership in the extreme sects is relatively minimal. To understand why some Black Hebrew Israelites maintain moderate beliefs while others subscribe to an extremist and hate filled ideology, one must first understand the history of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement within the U.S. Scholars tend to divide this history into four waves, and each wave carries with it its distinct characteristic that influences the makeup of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement today. So, uh, the Ozzy said you missed a comment from above C Doggo. I don't know what they're talking about. So the birth of a movement, 1886 to 1900. While some point to Gabriel Postner, an African American slave who led a revolt in 1800, as the first person to preach the Black Hebrew Israelite ideology, scholars generally agree that the Black Hebrew Israelite movement in the United States can be traced back to two preachers who established the first BHI congregations at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. The first preacher, F.S. Cherry, founded the Church of the Living God, the pillar ground of truth of all nations, in 1886 in Tennessee. It would later move to Philadelphia. Cherry preached that the Black community in the United States was descended from the 12 tribes of Israel, while also teaching that God hates white people because they are evil and frauds. Hilarious, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. All right. In 1896, William Saunders Crowdy, a former slave, established the Church of God and Saints of Christ after he claimed to receive divine visions that proved that Black Americans were descended from the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Crowdy took passages from the Old Testament in order to bring them closer to the teachings of the New Testament. As opposed to F.S. Cherry, William Crowdy never integrated hate or racial supremacy into his religious teachings. Thus, as can be seen from the above, even in the nascent days of the BHI movement, there were denominations that espoused a moderate ideology, while others adopted a more extreme and bigoted belief system. We have to remember, guys, that a lot of the religious movements that Black Americans start, especially if they have, views talking about, the white man is the devil, and God loves Black people more than anybody else, or Black superiority. We have to remember that, what Black people went through during slavery and Jim Crow and the Black codes and all that stuff, it's unimaginable, like what they went through. You know what I mean? Like these people that were living in the US at the time, they would literally, just break into your house and kidnap the father and just hang him from a tree and then burn down the house and leave the kids and the wife to then suffer and starve. You get what I'm saying? Like the they they were preaching that in sort of as a way, as a response. You know what I mean? Like how Hamas is attacking Israel right now, and they're saying like all the Israelis are X, Y, and Z, they're the devil and that sort of stuff. They were under extreme circumstances when they were making, these claims and creating these beliefs and using religion to, fight back against the violence that was against them and that sort of stuff. You get what I'm saying? So I totally disagree with the idea that, God made the white man the devil. Or that white people are more evil and that sort of stuff. But I understand where it comes from. That's why we just can't. That's why I always say I don't condemn any Black group that's talking about our identity or our religion or that sort of stuff, because we come from extreme circumstances as Black people in the West. So the Hebrew Israelites, I'm never going to you know disregard their beliefs or hate on them or anything, saying like, oh, everything is good with us, there's no such thing as racism and that sort of stuff. Then that's when, I gotta, clap back. Anyway, C Doggo says, what is this text? I'll provide the links for all of these in the chat box or in the description of this video, but we're reading about the Black Hebrew Israelite movement in the US because they were fighting the pro-Palestinian protesters. All right. So Polymath jumped into the comments. He says, it's like these people don't read the Bible. The Israelites always had sects that wanted to join their enemies, like the Pharisees, and some didn't want to join their enemy, like the Sicarii. Okay, that's getting real biblical for me. That's really deep. But yeah, there were always, I mean, it's literally, the Israelites were different sects. There were 12 tribes. So yeah, that makes sense what you're saying, Polymath. There were different sects of Israelites and Jews, because literally it says it in the name, the 12 tribes of Judah or Israel, whatever. I don't know. A return to Jewish roots, Wentworth, Matthew, and the Commandment Keepers. The second wave of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement was defined by those who sought to follow the philosophies of mainstream Judaism more closely. This wave was exemplified by Wentworth Arthur Matthew, who founded the Commandment Keepers congregation in Harlem, New York in 1919. Originally designated a church, the Commandment Keepers soon became identified as a synagogue. In line with traditional Black Hebrew Israelite philosophy, Matthew preached that Black Americans were the original Israelites, but had lost touch with their roots through the centuries of slavery and introduction of Christianity by their slaveholders. Matthew also taught that white Jews were the result of intermarriage between the Black Israelites and the children of Esau, the biblical Jacob's brother, or were descended from Khazars who had converted to Judaism in the 8th or 9th century. You see, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. This is funny right here because I don't believe in any of this stuff. I don't believe in the Bible as a historical truth, and I find it hard to believe that people descend from one tribe or one person and that sort of stuff. But it's so funny. Black people are so inventive. We were even ahead of the white supremacists because a common white supremacist talking point now is that the Jews who are the white Jews now are not the real Jews. They are Khazars who basically converted to escape the Turks from subjugating them or something like that, or conquering them, or they're a lost tribe of Turks, something like that. I don't keep up exactly with every talking point that the white supremacists make against the Jews, but it's very funny because these black men back then, what time was this? Early 20th century. They were creating white supremacist talking points before the white supremacists even came on the scene. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny to me. So let's keep on going. In an effort to reacquaint his followers with their Jewish roots, Matthew instituted a version of kosher dietary laws and denied the divinity of the New Testament. Commandment keepers' services were modeled after those held in traditional synagogues, with separate seating for men and women, public readings of the Torah on the Sabbath, which was observed on Saturday, and the use of traditional Hebrew prayer book. Yeah, that's the traditional Sabbath, right? The traditional Orthodox Jews, they have the Sabbath on Saturday. Muslims have our Sabbath on Friday, and the Christians have it on Sunday. Yeah, very interesting. Matthew also founded the Israelite Rabbinical Academy for the training of future rabbis. As noted by the Anti-Defamation League, even though he was rebuffed by the mainstream Jewish community, he twice attempted to join the New York Board of Rabbis. Matthew never incorporated anti-Semitic teachings into his philosophy and advocated for kindness between his followers and white Jews. See, this is the thing. See, this guy here generally sounds like he was cool. He sounded like he was, not too far on the extreme of like hating white people and that sort of stuff. But the white Jews at the time didn't want this black man becoming Jewish, right? And this was the early 20th century America. Once again, showing, that a lot of Jewish people say they can't be white supremacists, or they can't be anti-black, or they can't be racist because of what they went through during the Holocaust or whatever. But yet and still, multiple times has it been pointed out throughout history, and even still to this day, white Jews practice anti-black racism. They wouldn't let this black man who was trying to practice, the Torah and follow the laws and keeping the Sabbath and that sort of stuff. They didn't want this black man involved in their white Jewry. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. Just more proof on why black people should not have any sides in this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. If you want to be a Jew, a black Jew, go ahead, right? Whether that's Hebrew Israelites or Orthodox Jewish, right? But just remember that the majority of what people consider Orthodox traditional Jews don't like black people. A lot of them hold anti-black views, or they are fine with anti-black racism happening around them. You get what I'm saying? So, for many years, the Commandment Keepers, with its focus on traditional Judaism, was the dominant mainstream black Jewish organization in the United States. Very interesting. Commandment Keepers. So, C Doggo jumped into the comments. He said, "You can't be Jew if your mother is not Jew. That's their law." Yeah, that's the Orthodox Jewish law. There are some people who convert to Judaism. I think I have like a cousin in Israel who married a Jewish girl, and then he converted, and so then now they accept him as a Jew or something like that. I don't know. I don't really follow up with what's happening with him, but yeah, there are some rabbis that convert people to Judaism after they go through a long, lengthy process. And plus, the black Hebrew Israelites will say, well, all of our women are descended from the son of Jacob, who was the last true Jew, I guess. I don't know. And so, yeah, we are the true Jews because we come from black women. So therefore, we're Israelites. Yeah, let's get into the comments here. C Doggo says, "Why you say so collective things about people?" I don't know who he's talking about. I don't know who he's talking about. Me? If you're talking about me, and if you're talking about the comment I said about a lot of white Jews practice anti-black racism, it's the truth. The truth is a lot of people around the world practice anti-black racism, or they are fine with anti-black racism around them. They don't care if their friends discriminate against black people, and they won't call them out. To me, that makes you an accomplice to a crime. If you see people practicing anti-black racism and you don't call them out, you are an accomplice to the crime of perpetuating racism. Too many white people allow racism to perpetuate in their families and their friend circles, and they don't do or say anything about that. And then they wonder why the world continues to go the way it is. They say, geez, I'm not racist, so why is the world still like this? It's because you, as a white person, when you see other white people practicing anti-black racism, you don't do anything about that. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So, Polymath, Ozzy said, how do you even prove that? I don't know what Ozzy's talking about, how we even prove that. But anyway, Polymath said, actually, to the Bible is through your father, not mother. That's from the Talmud. Oh, it's getting spicy. That's spicy. I'd never heard that before. I never heard that. I don't, because most religions, most cultures pass things down patriarchally or patrilineally. Yes, most things are passed down from the father, right? Like your last name or like your culture or your nationality or something like that, right? So yeah, the Jews are different because generally they pass down their ethnicity through the woman, and I think that was a defense mechanism uh, due to them being, tortured, killed, kicked out of so many countries. So the only way to guarantee that the Jewish line would continue was to make sure that if a person who is Jewish is a woman who has a child, then that child has to be Jewish, right? That way they can never go extinct. You get what I'm saying? So it's pretty ingenious because you know what they always say: "Mama's baby, Papa's maybe," right? So anyway, I'm going to continue reading. From Jews to Israelites, the third wave. The third wave of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement began in the 1960s and 70s as a response to the Civil Rights Movement and the subsequent Black Power movement. The third wave is defined as a period when Black Hebrew Israelite denominations emerged that were more patriarchal, more militant, and more extreme. The third wave is also when the movement began to self identify as Black Israelites instead of Black Jews. Initially, the third wave continued in the footsteps of the second wave by adopting Jewish traditions and learning Jewish texts. However, as the third wave continued, new Black Hebrew Israelite denominations began to emerge that were influenced by Black separatism and the militancy that colored 1960s America. So here's a famous video that came out earlier this year. It's a video of Black Hebrew Israelites marching in what I believe is Chicago. No, in Brooklyn. Yeah, they were in Brooklyn marching, and they were deep, they were heavy, they were, that's what we like to see. We like to see black men unified on code, loving each other. That's dope. And see, anything that makes black men act like this, loving each other, appreciating each other, unified, that's what we like to see. And I don't care if they're Black Hebrew Israelites, Muslims, Christians, Jews, I don't care. Whatever makes us stop killing each other, selling drugs to each other, hurting each other, snitching on each other, whatever it takes to get us together, I am with it. But that doesn't mean I will just believe it. You get what I'm saying? So, Polymath said, read Numbers 118 and Ezra 259:62. You know what? I'll do that. I have the Bible open right here. I'll read some Bible. I haven't read the Bible in a while. But Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, it all relates. Bible right here. So I'm just going to read this verse that Polymath recommended. If you got a favorite Bible verse, leave in the chat. We reading the Bible today. This is getting real biblical. Come on, scroll down. So Numbers 118, and they called the whole community together on the first day of the second month. The people registered their ancestry by their clans and families, and the men 20 years old or more were listed by name one by one. I don't know what that means. It just sounds like people got together on a specific day and they're just telling that story. Their clans and families. So a clan can once again be matrilineal or patrilineal, and men 20 years old were listed by name one by one. Okay. I don't get exactly how that's supposed to prove it, but I believe you, Polymath, if the Bible says it's supposed to be patrilineal, because that sounds more in line with what tradition says in, Abrahamic religions. Anyway, C Doggo says, do you want an independent African American nation? Do I want black people in America to have their own nation? It would be cool if they gave us an entire state or region, like if they gave us everything from, I don't know, Virginia to, let's say, Louisiana. And I'm talking about all that: Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida. We could probably be okay. We could probably be okay if we did that. But is that necessary? No, I don't believe that's necessary, because what we really want is just to end white supremacist violence. Okay. Uh Sea Doggo's mad. Listen, Sea Doggo's mad. I got the ads on. Listen, y'all don't be mad at me, man. Y'all don't be mad at me. YouTube puts the ads on. Anyway, I'm gonna read the King James version of what Polymath says. Uh, so Polymath, I'm reading Numbers 1:18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families, by the houses of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. Okay. All right. That's cool. That's cool. See, that's a much better translation. And Polymath, I want to ask you, do the Hebrew Israelites prefer the King James version? And also, do y'all believe King James was a black man? Because that's a wild claim. If you believe King James was a black man, you gotta do some explaining, because I don't get how y'all get there. Okay. So Ozzy says, get YouTube Premium. Yeah, get YouTube Premium to tune into all of Simon Hill's interesting live streams. But yeah, I would love to know what you think, Polymath. Was King James a black man? And is and is the King James version of the Bible the best one to read to justify the claims of the Hebrew Israelites? But yeah, so it looks like the Israelites did do it patrilineally, their lineage. So let's continue. One of the most prominent Black Hebrew Israelite denominations that emerged during this period was the Israeli School of Universal Practical Knowledge, commonly known as One West, founded in the late 1960s by Yeoman, also known as Abba Bivens, a former member of the Commandment Keepers. One West espouses the belief that white Jews stole the identity of Black, Latin, and Native Americans, who are the true Jews. And that the mainstream Jewish community is responsible for all the challenges those communities face. One West also adopted the tactics of confrontational street preaching and wearing colorful garments, emulating the clothing that they believe that the original Israelites wore thousands of years ago. Okay, so One West is like the beginning of the Hebrew Israelites we know today. This basically comes from, this group, and I guess the other groups adopted that, because I know for a fact that the different groups of Hebrew Israelites sometimes debate each other in the streets, and they're using the same tactics. Anyway, yeah, One West also adopted the tactics of confrontational street preaching and wearing colorful garments, emulating the clothing that they believe that the original Israelites wore thousands of years ago. Some of the most radical, militant, and bigoted Black Hebrew Israelite sects to emerge in the past 40 years are offshoots of One West. These groups include Israel United in Christ, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, the Sicarii, House of Israel, True Nation Israelite Congregation, and Israelite Saints of Christ. I would very much love to know what Polymath thinks of these different groups. Which group is closest to the truth? Which group you think is the realist? Which one are fakes? Which ones are coons? Which one are radicals? I would love to know what Polymath thinks about these different Israeli groups, because I couldn't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. You get what I'm saying? So, uh, C Doggo says, hell nah, he's too poor for YouTube Premium. Hey, we're all poor, man. We're all struggling together. Ozzy says, are you Albanian, C Doggo? C Doggo says, why? He says, close though. C Doggo is Hungarian, man. I don't think he's Albanian. But everybody's welcome on my channel to come in and chop it up with me. So Polymath says, I do comparative translations because sometimes the Old English doesn't represent the Hebrew or Greek. I also go into Hebrew and Greek, but I personally like the GNT as far as King James being black. Okay, I like the GNT. Yeah, all right. I don't know what GNT is. What's GNT version of the Bible? There are so many different versions of the Bible. Good News Translation. Okay, here's the Good News Translation of the Bible. And it seems like the Hebrew Israelites have different versions that they tune into and that they like. And yeah, the Bible was written in many different languages: Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew, and that sort of stuff. And so yeah, just relying on one translation probably isn't a good way to understand the Bible. So C Doggo says, anyway, Simon, if you are in Hungary, you should taste the coolest traditional Hungarian foods that exist: pakal porkolt, szizam lantudo, and kok sanya. Please don't hate me for my pronunciation. I've had some great Hungarian food, man. The food here is actually really good. I like goulash, of course. I like the damn, I only ate it one time. It's the pizza thing with the dough. I forgot the name. I made a video about it on my channel. Langos. Yes, Hungarian langos is good. Basically everything. They have really good bakeries out here. Bread is good. Langos, yeah. Uh, Polymath says, I really don't care. That doesn't dictate my salvation. That's an interesting thing. Interesting. Salvation. So, do the Hebrew Israelites believe in Christ as salvation? What is salvation to the Hebrew Israelites? Do you even like believe in Christ? Can you explain that for me, Polymath? Like how the Hebrew Israelites view Jesus? Do they believe him? Um, you know, do they believe that Jesus was like the Son of God, or he was just a crazy guy? Did he deserve to die? I don't know. Anyway, so C Doggo says bakeries here is like McDonald's in the US, made for poor, and it's everywhere. Absolutely. Hey, maybe that's why I automatically liked them. There's some really good bakeries out here in Hungary. Their bread is top notch. Very good bread out here in Budapest. So let's continue. Of all these groups, Israel United in Christ, or IUIC, is one of the most vocal and public. They are also one of the most militant and bigoted. They are known for street preaching, rallying, including on behalf of Kyrie Irving, and marching. In its writings and speeches, IUIC has made a wide variety of anti Semitic statements, including that Jews are demons, that everything they or Jewish people do is about lying, and that Jewish people are responsible for a Holocaust that Black people have been experiencing since the 1400s. Oh man, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Now, I'm not saying it's hilarious to like laugh at, the harm that happened to Jewish people. It's just hilarious like that they, because I'm imagining these guys. I'm imagining these guys on the corner with the bullhorn saying the Jews are responsible for lying and for slavery and all this stuff. And for all the people who, say, oh, the Jews were really the ones who caused slavery to happen in the US, I don't really care who it was. Whoever did it was wrong, and it was a collection of Caucasians of all persuasions and nations doing oppression upon us. So for anybody who's going to point the finger and say, oh, it wasn't the Anglo-Saxons, it wasn't the French, it wasn't the Portuguese, it wasn't the Spanish, it wasn't the Germans, it was the Jews. That's white supremacist talking points, and I don't fall into that. I'm not just going to sit here and bash Jews for what happened in slavery and what continues to happen today to our people. No, it's not all Jews who cause pain to Black people. It's silly and stupid, right? There were millions of Europeans who were involved in our enslavement, or who were quiet about it and allowed it to happen. And a very small percentage were Jewish people. But I'm not going to sit here and blame all Jewish people. Anyway, so the Black Hebrew Israelites in the state of Israel. One of the sects that emerged during the third wave was the original African Hebrew Israelite nation of Jerusalem. This sect was founded by Ben Ami Ben Israel, a Chicago-born man who claimed that he had received a vision in 1966 that he was to return the African-American descendants of the ancient Israelites to the Promised Land. By 1967, Ben Israel had persuaded 400 people to leave the United States with him to the Promised Land. After a brief sojourn in Liberia that was seen as a means of purging the negative influences of captivity, this group arrived in Israel in 1969. When they arrived in Israel, the group was given temporary visas and housing in the southern Israeli development town of Dimona. Soon after the initial group's arrival in the country, the Israeli government noticed that more members were arriving and illegally staying in the country. Since it was determined that they were not Jewish, they were not eligible to become citizens under the law of return. The state of Israel's attempt to bar more members of the African Hebrew Israelite nation from moving to the country led to a protracted conflict between the state and the sect. During this nasty fight, which lasted 13 years, members of the sect took part in a public campaign against the state of Israel, which included calls for a halt to American aid to Israel and a boycott of Jewish-owned businesses. In 1990, the Israeli government and the African Hebrew Israelites came to an agreement whereby members of the sect will be granted permanent residency. In 2004, the first member of the African Hebrew Israelites enlisted in the Israel Defense Forces, and by 2006, 100 members were serving in the Israeli military. In 2009, the first member of the sect gained Israeli citizenship. Very inspiring story, but still crazy that you know, Israel is so racist when it comes to its laws. The idea that, you're not real Jews just because you didn't come out of a Jewish woman or because you're Black. We all know this comes from anti-Black racism, because in Israel, they allowed hundreds of thousands of Russians and Ukrainians who did not practice Judaism to come to Israel and become citizens. This is known. They allowed so many white Jews to come there who didn't even practice Judaism, didn't believe in God, didn't uphold the Torah or the Sabbath or anything, eating pork and all that, and they gained citizenship. Meanwhile, these black people from the US, given even they're from the US, people think black Americans have special privileges. These black Americans went to Israel and got left in the desert, essentially, in a town called Dimona. And I think Dimona is also where Israel keeps their nuclear weapons too. Very odd. Anyway, yeah, anti-black racism at play with how they treated these Hebrew Israelites. Let's try this. C Doggo says, I think everyone should blame the person, not the race. I'm not getting into that. C Doggo, wait for a minute. We want to see a first time trying Palinko video. The best is the homemade one. Once I drank with Arabs, and I was the one who was able, and I was the only one who was able to drink it. That's funny. That's funny. You know what? I think I had Palinka. I think I had Palinka. Palinka is like their version of alcohol here. It's like rum. I think I had it. In fact, I had it at the there's a video on my channel where my wife and I go try Mexican food, and I think I have palinka towards the end of the video, and it's very good. It's very good. But I'll be honest, because I don't care. I don't care. Palinka is okay, but it's not as good as like Serbian raka or like Serbian rakia or Turkish raka. I'm gonna keep it real, but it's good. It's a good drink. Um, Polymath. So Polymath says salvation is multiplied things in the Bible. One is being saved from your enemies, which is what the curse of Deuteronomy 28 brings, and the other is being saved from the second death, which is what Christ is going to save us from. So yes, we believe in Christ, but there are Israelites that are Torah only, that don't believe in Christ. C Doggo says there is a difference between being a Jew and being a citizen in Israel. Ozzy says interesting. So there are thousands of Black American descendants in Israel. Yes, there are. So very interesting what Polymath said about believing in Christ. I find that very interesting, because Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was, a Jew who just didn't want to uphold certain Jewish laws that he thought were against God's will. I mean, if we look at it, the first Christians were a sect of Judaism. And then Paul came later and told people that Jesus came for the Jews and the Gentiles. And so then he didn't care if people, weren't circumcised or if they ate pork and that sort of stuff, because Paul made it that people could love Christ, believe in Christ, and then they could go to heaven. But if you think about it, there's a debate that Jesus was teaching Jewish law. He just wanted some of the Jewish laws to change. Jesus was a Jewish reformist to some extent, so they say. And so, yeah, I find it interesting to claim to be a Jew but believe in Jesus, because that's a very, very small minority of people today. But that's a very interesting belief that you have there, Ozzy. I mean, not Ozzy, Polymath. Sorry. So there are currently between 3,000 to 5,000 members of the African Hebrew Israelites living in Israel, the majority of whom are in the southern towns of Dimona, Arad, Mitsepe, Ramon. The African Hebrew Israelites place a strong emphasis on healthy living. They follow a vegan diet and highly limit their intake of sugar and salt. In addition, members are forbidden from smoking, taking drugs, or drinking alcohol, aside from naturally fermented wines. The African Hebrew Israelites also follow a strict exercise schedule. Until 1990, members of the African Hebrew Israelite community practiced polygamy due to its existence in the biblical tradition and because there were many more women than men in the first years of the community. Oh, they had some hoes out there. Okay. Do they drink? I forgot that part. They remember for smoking, taking drugs, or drinking alcohol, aside from naturally fermented wines. Okay, so they drink. Very okay. So aside from the biblical holidays, the African Hebrew Israelite community also holds a special festive celebration every May, New World Passover, which commemorates their exodus from the United States in 1967. Now that's a holiday I can get behind, leaving the U.S. All right. So C Doggo says Jesus was God himself, and he said many teachings were wrong, what the Jews believed, and he is the God of everyone. So C Doggo says, do you support polygamy? If people want to practice polygamy, that's fine with me. Me personally, I wouldn't want to have more than one wife, because that's a lot of drama. I do think there is a cause for polygamy to exist. Like there's an argument to be made, because there are more women in the world than men. So if we really think about it, if every woman who is of legal age or adult age were to marry every man of legal age or adult age, there would still be millions of women who will remain unmarried, right? And so, yeah, I think there is an argument to be made that maybe in a time of war when most of the men die and there are women who don't have husbands, yeah, maybe there might be a time for women to take on more than one uh, men to take on more than one wife and that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, I am Muslim, but once again, guys, you see me drinking. I was just talking about eating palinka or drinking palinka and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm not a practicing Muslim, but I do think there is an argument to be made for polygamy to exist in a society, honestly. But it's not something that I personally would practice. You get what I'm saying? So, C. Doggo says he believes Jesus was God, and that's his belief. Let's continue on with the Black Hebrew Israelites. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement in the age of the internet. With the rise of the internet and the subsequent popularity of social media, the Black Hebrew Israelite movement has a new avenue through which to spread its teachings. In particular, the extremist BHI groups who traditionally rely on street preaching and public rallies are able to use the internet to spread their hateful ideology through social media sites, videos, and books. For example, Israel United in Christ, one of the most publicly active groups, operates accounts on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and is able to reach out to interested individuals who may not have otherwise been exposed to their ideology. The reach of IUIC's teachings can be seen from their main YouTube channel. There are 126,000 subscribers and a total of 29.4 million video views. It should be noted that while the extremist BHI sects have the benefit of increased exposure through the internet, they are still only a vocal minority within the larger Black Hebrew Israelite movement. The most prominent moderate leader of the Black Hebrew Israelites in the United States today is Capers Fournier, a Chicago-based rabbi who has tried to align the BHI movement with mainstream Judaism. Aside from converting to conservative Judaism, which some BHI members oppose since it seems to contradict their core ideology, and becoming a member of the Chicago Board of Rabbis, Fournier leads a congregation that only subscribes to the Torah, rejects extremism, and supports the state of Israel. Thus, much like during the first and second waves of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, the most popular leaders of the movement are moderate and open, but a small minority with a loud voice continues to preach hate, racial superiority, and extremism. So, violence in the name of ideology. Since the third wave of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, a number of people influenced by the extremist BHI sects have committed violence in the name of their ideology. These violent acts include some. Now, before we get into this, I have to say this. This obviously is a piece that was informative. They did break down a lot of the history of the Hebrew Israelites, which we do appreciate. But we also have to remember that it's written from the perspective of an Orthodox Jewish person who is presumably white. And so they're going to have a negative view of the Black Hebrew Israelites, as we saw from the Reddit section here, where the people of Tel Aviv, right, in our Tel Aviv, look at the Black Hebrew Israelites as enemies to them. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, they're going to list out violence committed by Black Hebrew Israelites. But what about the violence that Israel projects onto the Palestinians? Every religious group has violent extremists within it. So we're not just going to sit here and act like the Hebrew Israelites are violent inherently. Some members might have done bad stuff in the name of their religion, but that doesn't automatically mean their religion is bad. So, C. Doggo says, I also think one woman is enough. I would die in a situation when 5 wives attack me for not washing the dishes. Hilarious. My comment section is getting crazier and funnier every day. These people, well, I don't know where y'all come from. Y'all are funny. Polymath says Jesus was teaching Torah laws and preaching against Pharisee traditions. Paul was teaching the same thing, but to Israelites outside of Judea that were being called Gentiles by Israelites in Judah. Yeah, I think we said the same thing, but yeah, generally I agree with that. Jesus was teaching the Torah law, but from his perspective, and I believe he might have been a reformist, like, because, that's how the Pharisees killed him. They said he wasn't following certain laws that they had. Anyway, so here are some of the violent acts that the Hebrew Israelites have committed. In 1974, a Black Hebrew Israelite opened fire in a church, killing Alberta King, the mother of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, I heard about this, and that's bad. Like, that's inherently bad. Like, how are you going to kill Dr. King's mama? Dr. King's mama should have been like, Virgin Mary to us. We should have like loved her and cherished her, all Black people, regardless if they're Muslim like me, Christian, whatever. Dr. King's mama should have been a saint. And it's a sad thing that she was killed by some lunatic. So in the 1980s, members of the Nation of Yahweh killed 14 people, including those who were white and had left the sect. In October 2019, Elijah Israel, a self-identified BHI member, assaulted two people at a Miami synagogue while calling them fake Jews. Okay, that's a crazy person. That's a crazy person. In December 2019, David Anderson and Francine Graham, two BHI members who held extremist beliefs, killed a police officer and then opened fire on a Jewish supermarket, killing three in Jersey City, New Jersey. That's inherently bad. Bad, bad, bad all around. In December 2019, a BHI extremist attacked a Hanukkah party in Monsey, New York. One of his victims, a 72-year-old rabbi, died from his wounds 3 months later. Horrible, horrible acts of violence. But let's not paint all the Black Hebrew Israelites that way, because every religious group has bad people in it. And honestly, out of millions of Black men, you can only find a handful of examples. Meanwhile, we can find numerous examples of Orthodox Jews committing atrocities against people that they deem less, like the Arab Palestinians, or, radical Islamic extremists doing bad stuff. So yeah, so the celebrities who follow the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, one of the ways that the public has become acquainted with the Black Hebrew Israelite movement is through celebrities who publicly spread the movement's ideology, both moderate and extreme. Aside from Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, other celebrities who have publicly invoked the ideology of the Black Hebrew Israelites are Nick Cannon, Amari Stoudemire, and Kendrick Lamar. In 2020, comedian Nick Cannon was forced to apologize after he hosted a podcast with rapper Professor Griff, where they claimed that Jews control the media and that the Rothschilds controlled the economy. After spewing these classic anti-Semitic tropes, Cannon and Griff claimed that they could not be considered anti-Semitic, as they were the true Semitic people, a birthright that the Jewish community had stolen from the Black community. During the recent uproar over the tweets by Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, former professional basketball player Amari Stoudemire, who had followed the BHI movement for 20 years and converted to Orthodox Judaism in 2020, came to the defense of the Black Hebrew Israelites, which he referred to as a holy nation, while also condemning anti-Semitism within the movement. I'm not going to play videos out of copyright strike and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to jump into the comments real quick. Polymath says the 2019 guys, the police literally came out and said they had no connection to the Israelites. They just found a flyer in his car. See, that's the thing, right? Like, once it's not uncommon for people just to try to paint Black men or Black religious movements in a bad light. That's what they did to the Black Panthers. That's what they tried to do to the Nation of Islam. And so, yeah, I take what they say about Black groups and violence from Black groups with a grain of salt. Of course, all religious movements will have crazy people in them. Thank you for that, Polymath, for giving that information. C Doggo says, do you learning history in Hungary? I've watched some videos about Hungarian history, read some of the Wikipedia page about Budapest, but no, I'm not studying Hungarian history right now. So for Kendrick Lamar, his espousal of BHI ideology came in his 2017 song, "Ya," when he raps that "I'm an Israelite, don't call me black no more. That word is only a color, it ain't facts no more," said Lamar. Lamar had been introduced to the movement by a cousin who was involved with the Israel United in Christ sect. As the internet and social media make it easier for all Black Hebrew Israelite sects to spread their beliefs to the wider world, it is incumbent upon celebrities involved with the movement to ensure they are not encouraging the spread of the movement's most violent, extreme, hateful rhetoric, especially when such ideas have been shown to have violent consequences. So, oh, he means university. No, I'm not studying in university. I'm here with my wife. Wife is studying. I'm out here working. I'm out here working and chilling. So that was a history of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. Very interesting history. I did not know much about that. I knew a little bit, but once again, these guys are a staple in the Black community, and we love them all the same. I love all the Black Hebrew Israelites, except if they're cooning. If the Black Hebrew Israelites want to come for me later and say I'm some lost coon or whatever, I don't care. I don't care. I know what I stand on and I know what I believe, and I don't back down from nobody. Everybody's welcome to come on this channel and chop it up with me and that sort of thing. But the inherent flaw I find in all of this, and I'm going to go back and read the Deuteronomy 28 verse 68 verse, because that's very inherent to the Black Hebrew Israelite beliefs. I'm going to read the GNT version of this text. They believe this text sort of talks about our enslavement, prophesizes it, and that sort of thing. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. So that's the Good News translation of Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, a very important verse to the Hebrew Israelites. They believe God predicted that slavery would happen. And I just don't buy that. Because I just don't buy the Bible. I just can't get into the Bible as a historical document that's absolutely real. If people want to believe that, sure, you can. And I love anybody who wants to, believe in that, and that makes them a better person. But I'm going to keep it absolutely real with you guys. I just can't get with it. There's too many historical inaccuracies in the Bible. This is the last thing we're reading today. So, why the Bible is not considered a historical document. So, the Bible is one of the most influential and widely read books in the world. It holds significant religious, moral, and philosophical values for millions of people across different cultures. However, when it comes to its historical accuracy, the Bible is not considered a reliable historical document. While it does contain historical information, there are several reasons why it is not considered a primary source for historical study. In this article, we will explore these reasons and provide 5 interesting facts about the Bible as a historical document. Multiple authors in time periods. Number 1, the Bible is not a single book, but rather a collection of texts written by various authors over centuries. It is divided into 2 main sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The authors of these texts were not writing with the intention of recording historical events, but rather to convey religious teachings, moral lessons, and spiritual insights. Therefore, the Bible's primary purpose is not to serve as a historical record. 2, lack of contemporary evidence. One of the fundamental requirements for a document to be considered a reliable historical source is contemporary evidence. In the case of the Bible, many events described in its pages lack independent confirmation from other historic sources. For example, there is no biblical evidence supporting the story of Noah's Ark or the Exodus from Egypt. Without external corroboration, it is challenging to establish the historical accuracy of these events. Number 3, narrative and symbolism. The Bible often uses narrative and symbolism to convey its messages. While these elements are powerful tools for storytelling and conveying moral lessons, they are not necessarily historical facts. Many biblical stories, such as the creation of the world in 7 days or the parting of the Red Sea, are seen as symbolic rather than literal accounts of historical events. Number 4, historical inaccuracies and contradictions. The Bible contains several historical inaccuracies and contradictions. For example, the Gospels in the New Testament, which describes the life of Jesus, have differences in the details of his birth, death, and resurrection. These inaccuracies raise questions about the historical reliability of the text. Additionally, archaeological discoveries often challenge biblical accounts, further undermining its historical accuracy. And number 5, theological bias. The Bible is a religious text, and as such, it carries a theological bias. It presents events from a particular religious perspective, emphasizing spiritual significance rather than historical accuracy. This theological bias can lead to a selective interpretation of historical events, prioritizing religious teachings over historical facts. Now that we have explored why the Bible is not considered a historical document, let's dive into 5 interesting facts about the Bible's historical context. I'm going to jump into a comment real quick. So Polymath says, can you explain why the Bible said that the Euphrates River will dry up in the end times and the Euphrates River just recently started drying up in the past 2 years? See, Polymath, I respect your beliefs, but this is the thing. The Bible is written in such a obscure, obtuse way that you can read anything into it. You can literally read any verse and any verse from the Bible that you pull up. And I'm not trying to knock your belief or any Christians' beliefs in general, because I don't care if there are Christians or Jews or Muslims in the world. I only care about fighting white supremacy and anti-black racism. And I just find this story interesting and I enjoy learning. But let's keep it real. The Bible, you could say, people have said that the Bible predicted the world would end during World War II. People are saying that the Bible is predicting the end times now with Israel and Palestine. People will say the Bible predicted, I don't know, Janet Jackson showing her titty at the Super Bowl. You could say that the Bible predicts almost anything. So the Euphrates is drying up. That's because of the Bible predicting it, or is that because of global warming and man's inability to care about the planet and the environment? See, I'm not trying to knock your beliefs. I'm just saying uh read the verse. I can read the verse. I believe you, Polymath, that the Bible might say the Euphrates will dry up. But don't rivers dry up? If people have been around on the planet Earth for thousands of years and we've seen how nature reacts, it's not hard for me to fathom that the Bible has a verse that says the rivers will run dry. I believe you that it does say that. I don't even have to read the verse, and I believe you that in the Bible it says the Euphrates or the Tigris will run dry. My thing is, who's to say that's prophecy, and how can that not just be humans understanding the world around them? You get what I'm saying? We see the sea tides rise. We see the moon have different phases. We see the stars and the galaxies change and the constellations change and that sort of stuff. So I get you. And Ozzy jumped into the comments, says, do these critiques also apply to the Quran? I believe so as well. I don't take the Quran as a historical document. I take the Quran as a religious text. That's how I view my Islam. That's how I view my faith. My faith is my faith, and your faith is your faith. So, Greg Mack says, what up, Simon? You're freezing up on the live. I hope y'all can hear me. Maybe y'all will catch this on the playback. I hope it's absolutely real. Maybe YouTube is trying to take this down because we were talking real spicy about the Jews, the black Jews, and the white Jews. Maybe YouTube wants me gone because I'm talking too real out here. But I'm just going to finish up this text real quick because I got class in about 10 minutes. Got to go back to work. So the Bible was written in several languages, including Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, reflecting the cultural and linguistic diversity of its authors. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in the mid 20th century, provided significant insights into the historical context of the Bible, including early Jewish religious texts. The Bible contains various literary genres, including poetry, prophecy, law codes, and historical narratives, demonstrating its diverse nature. And number four, the New Testament, which includes the life and teachings of Jesus, was written in the first century CE, decades after his death, by different authors. The Bible has been translated into thousands of languages, making it accessible to people all over the world, regardless of their cultural or linguistic background. Now let's address 13 interesting questions about the Bible. Is the Bible completely devoid of historical accuracy? No, the Bible contains historical elements, but it should not be considered a primary source for historical study. Number two, why do so many people consider the Bible a historical document? Many people consider the Bible a historical document because of their religious beliefs, personal experiences, and cultural traditions. Can historical evidence be found to support biblical events? In some cases, archaeological discoveries have provided evidence supporting certain biblical events, but many events lack independent corroboration. I'm going to jump into a comment here. Polymath says, but what would be the point of talking about the Euphrates drying up by a man in prison during the Roman times that wasn't even close to the Euphrates River? I don't know, but think about it, man. I could write a book right now where I say, a place I've never been. One day, Mount Fiji in Japan will explode. I could write that in a book right now. And then hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, millions of years later, if it does explode, will people say, oh, Simon was a prophet? I just wrote something down in the book. I've never been to Japan, never seen Mount Fiji. I don't even know if Mount Fiji is even a volcano, but you get what I'm saying, right? I don't even, oh, it's not even called Fiji. It's called Mount Fuji. Whatever. I think Mount Fiji is a volcano in Fiji, the island, but you get what I'm saying, Polymath. I mean, if you want to believe that the Bible is prophecy and that it makes you tied to the ancient Israelis, whatever. But what are we going to do about the white supremacists shooting us in the back? What are we going to do about black wealth being so much smaller than the white wealth in this world? What are we going to do about blackface being done on TV? What are we going to do about job discrimination? What are we going to do about the violence in our communities perpetrated against each other? What are we going to do about that? And that's what I'm more concerned about. If we really believe that the Bible is prophetic, where is the prophecy? Where is the prophecy about the stuff that we're going through right now? I'm sure it's in there. I'm sure it's in there. I'm sure you can cause some correlation between some verse or some chapter. But what does that actually do for us? That's what I'm asking. So Ozzy says, so you think we're living in the end times, Polymath? Yeah, go ahead and answer that. So go ahead and answer that, Polymath. Anyway, number four. All right. Greg Mack says YouTube is messing it up. Don't use the word J. Use 24 karat people or untouchables. They run the YouTube. Greg Mack is hilarious. We gonna call them untouchables. We're talking about the untouchables. Yo, I got the funniest comment section. I love y'all guys. Y'all make me laugh so much. Read the book of Revelations. Okay, man. Listen, whatever you believe it, man. So, number 4, can we learn anything about ancient civilizations from the Bible? Yes, the Bible provides insights into the cultural, social, and religious practices of ancient civilizations, but these should be approached critically. Number 5, can the Bible be used as a secondary source for historical study? Yes, the Bible can be used as a secondary source to gain insights into ancient societies and their religious beliefs, but it shouldn't be complemented with other historical sources. How do historians approach the Bible? Historians approach the Bible as they would any other historical document, critically analyzing its content, comparing it with other sources, and considering its content. The existence of certain ancient empires, rulers, and cities are widely accepted by historians due to external corroboration. 8, how does the Bible's historical accuracy impact religious beliefs? The historical accuracy of the Bible does not necessarily impact religious beliefs, as faith often transcends historical facts. Number 9, are there any religious texts considered more historically accurate than the Bible? There are other religious texts, such as the Quran or various historical writings and from ancient civilizations, which are also subjected to historical scrutiny. Can we separate the religious and historical aspects of the Bible? It is challenging to completely separate the religious and historical aspects of the Bible, as they are deeply intertwined in its content and purpose. Does the lack of historical accuracy diminish the Bible's value? The value of the Bible is subjective and varies from person to person. Its moral teachings and philosophical insights can still be appreciated without relying on its historical accuracy. That's what I love. Yeah, keep that. So, Polymath says, yes, we are literally about to enter World War III, which is why Revelation said the Euphrates would dry up. Okay. So, Polymath, this article is just talking in general with no details at all to the statements being made. I mean, these are arguments that I generally believe to be true. I mean, these. I don't find anything in this text that I disagree with on how to view the Bible. Is it a historical document in the sense that it gives us some insight, but it's not a historical document that you can take on face value, right? And prophecy is written in the Bible, but it's a style of literature. Anybody can write prophecy. You can write prophecy, Polymath. I can write prophecy. We can open up a pad and start writing down what we think will happen in the future. That's what Nostradamus did and people like that. Listen, I'm only reading this article because this just, sorts of builds up my argument about why I can't get with the Hebrew Israelites. That's all I'm breaking down here. If you believe that, if you rock with these guys, if y'all want to dress up like Earth, Wind, and Fire and yell on the street corner, y'all can do that. I'm just roasting y'all. I'm just giving a little joke. Don't get mad at me now. I love my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. I just can't get with the idea that God wrote in the Bible, or some man inspired by God wrote in the Bible thousands of years ago, predicting that we would be slaves, or that God would do this to black people. If God does exist, God loves black people enough not to punish us the way we did. There is nothing black people did that deserved our children, our grandmothers, our fathers, our uncles, our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers to go through slavery like we did. God should not have did that to us. If he did do that, because we started worshiping a golden calf or we stopped following his laws. That's the biggest problem to me. The Hebrew Israelites make God a white supremacist, and I hate all white supremacists. And if God is a white supremacist, I would rather go to hell. Period. Period. Black people did not deserve slavery no matter what we did. And if God did that to us, fuck God. Anyway, so C Doggo says, do you know the Quran is based in Torah and Bible? It's okay. I'm not getting into that, man. Not getting into that. Anyway, I'm just gonna finish up this article, then wrap this up. So, all right. So, how do scholars approach the study of the Bible's historical context? Uh, Ozzy said, "God is a black woman." That's funny. That's funny. I like that. So, how do scholars approach the study of the Bible's historical context? Scholars employ various methodologies, including textual analysis, archaeology, and comparative studies to understand the historical context in which the Bible was written. Can we accept some parts of the Bible as historically accurate while disregarding others? Scholars often differentiate between historical elements and theological interpretations in the Bible. It is possible to accept certain events as historically accurate while interpreting others symbolically or metaphorically. In conclusion, while the Bible holds immense religious and philosophical value, it is not considered a reliable historical document. Its multiple authors, lack of contemporary evidence, narrative and symbolism, historical inaccuracies, and theological bias all contribute to this assessment. However, the Bible remains an essential part of human history and continues to shape the lives and beliefs of millions worldwide. And that's probably where we're going to end it off. I'm going to go here to the comments. Polymath says, do you believe in Allah? Yes, I believe in God. I believe in God, and that's my personal belief. I believe in God. But in the Quran, it does not say that black people went through slavery because we did something bad. The Hebrew Israelites, from what I understand, y'all believe God wants to punish black people because we didn't uphold the Jewish laws. And so we went through hundreds of years of slavery, and still we're going through our subjugation now because this is punishment from God. Fuck God if that's what he believes. Fuck God if God wants to punish black people for something we did. Period. Period. That's how I'm rocking. I am against white supremacy to the very end, to the absolute very end. And if it's true, if I go to heaven and I find that God is a Hebrew Israelite and he says, Shalom, brother, are you ready to accept you're an Israelite? I'm going to ask God, God, why did we go through slavery? God, why did you allow our grandmothers to get raped and maimed? And why did you allow millions of black men to get their genitalia cut off? Why did you allow that, God? And if God says, well, y'all started worshiping a golden cow, I'm going to give God two of these. I'm going to give God two of these if that's true. Period. Period. And I'll go and suffer in hell for the rest of for eternity. Period. Period. It doesn't make any sense. That's the biggest problem I see with the Hebrew Israelites. The idea that we are meant to be banished, sent away because we did something bad or our fathers did something bad by not following Jewish law is dumb to me. If you believe that and that makes you a better black man or a better person, go ahead and believe that. You get what I'm saying? That's how I'm feeling. That's how I feel about the Hebrew Israelites theology. But that's not how I feel about them as people, because when I look at these brothers here, I see myself, I see my cousins, I see my dad, I see my brothers, I see my cousins. You get what I'm saying? I know I might be ranting here. I'm just making a point. I'm not condemning them as people. I just disagree with the theology. That's all I'm saying here. All right. So, so Polymath says, "Do I believe? All right, God is a black woman? Hey, who knows? Anyway, bro, God is good, but evil needs to exist to make differences between good and bad. Without good or bad, nothing would exist. Where's the article of black people should suffer? God didn't allow it, but it happened because God was not able to destroy the devil. Listen, man, y'all can have those theological debates about why evil exists or not, but all I know is this: we are dealing with an evil right now in the world where a handful of people control most of the wealth, a handful of people control all of the nuclear weapons, a handful of people dictate our humanity. And no, they are not the untouchables, they are not the J words, they are not the small hats. I'm talking about the white supremacists. Those are the ultimate evil on the planet. People that rock with that ideology and people that latently support that ideology to continue to exist, those are the most evil people on the planet. And I don't care if God does anything about it, I'm gonna do something about it, and you should do something about it too. And that's it. That's all I really got for y'all. I want to say thank you to everybody who came into the live stream. C Doggo, Polymath, big up to Polymath, big up to Polymath, Greg Mack, Ozzy. Yes, I don't know who else was in here, but this was a very big live stream, very big chat. I was very, very pleasantly surprised to see all of y'all here. I got class to get to. I'm gonna catch y'all later.